Go on.
So the 74 Act, prior to that, with things like the 1961 Factories Act, with the 63, I think it was, Offices, Shops, Railway Premises Act, there's a whole bunch of stuff that had very specific regulatory limits in it. So there was the 6 foot working at height limit, there were the minimum temperatures for working, there was a whole bunch of stuff that specified rigid, strict limits. And most of those were swept away by the 74 Act when it came in. And the 74 Act became an enabling act rather than a piece of constraining legislation. 84, when the Control of Industrial Major Accident Hazards came in, that was an attempt to say regulators can no longer keep pace with the rate of change in industry. We're just no longer able to say that you have to use a stainless steel pipe to this sort of grade, because by the time we've printed the legislation that specifies this, you found something better. So we moved to safety cases. We moved away from prescription towards safety cases. We moved away from control and constraint towards enabling legislation that allowed freedom within a framework. And those approaches are entirely consistent, I think, with what we're trying to do just now. We have gone through cycle after cycle of adding rules to management systems, such that now they've become this bureaucratic burden on organisations, and have become confusing for those that they were originally meant to assist. So I think if you looked at most management systems, you'd find a huge amount of redundancy in them. So rules that no longer apply because the processes that they cover, you actually no longer work that way anymore. Friction and confusion. So if I meet this rule, I automatically flout this particular rule. So, and people have to make these choices. They have to resolve all of these difficulties on a daily basis. So I think actually what we're trying to do, this decluttering that Dave Proven talks about, I think actually what we're trying to do is really in line, as you say, with the intentions of the 74 Act. So rather than be a departure from statutory compliance, I actually think what we're trying to do is very much in line with those original intentions in 74.